It's very scary stuff what's going on right now, okay? History is written by winners, or at least it used to be, when historical documents could only be written by scribes that were educated enough to be able to write, or by people that were rich enough to have a photograph, or people that were educated enough and wealthy enough and prominent enough to be featured in newspapers and articles and whatever. I understand how history used to only be written by the winners, okay? But now, in this day and age, when everyone has one of these, everyone's able to just beep, 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 and just make their stories known. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, it's a double-edged sword. It does allow history to be more holistic. It allows it to not just be written by the winners, but also by the losers, by the freaks, by the weirdos, by the psychopaths, and by the deranged. And that is what is happening right now. Donald Trump is using his position in the presidency behind the seal of the president. You know, I never understood why Kamala Harris was so hung up on that during her campaign. She would always say, we should never let that man be behind the seal of a president. I get it now. I understand it now. God, I wish she was standing behind there. But he's using his power to act like a jealous, toxic, manipulative, abusive boyfriend rather than the leader of the free world. I'm not even just talking about his foreign policy. He's going after American law firms for having associations against him. Picture your high school boyfriend making you cut off every guy in your math class. He's too emotional for this position. Why do we have such an emotional person who's so sensitive at the head of the country? Honestly, what's he gonna do when he gets that phone call in the middle of the night? He's too overcome and wrapped up with his own sensitive hormone emotions. He shouldn't be the president. Addressing risks from Paul Weiss. Background. Global firms for years have played an outsized role in undermining the judicial processes in the destruction bedrock of American principles. Many have engaged in activities that make our communities less safe, increase burdens on local businesses, limit constitutional freedoms, and degrade the quality of American elections. Additionally, they have sometimes done so on behalf of clients pro bono or ostensibly for the public good, potentially depriving those who cannot otherwise afford the benefit of top legal talent the access to justice deserved by all. My administration will no longer support taxpayer funds supporting such harm. My administration has already taken action to address some of the significant risks and egregious conduct associated with law firms. In 2021, a Paul Weiss partner and former leading prosecutor, this guy doesn't even work there anymore, in the office of Special Counsel Robert Mueller, brought a pro bono suit against individuals alleged to have participated in the events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6th, 2021. In 2022, Paul Weiss hired unethical attorney Mark Pomerantz, who had previously left Paul Weiss to join the Manhattan District Attorney Office solely to manufacture a prosecution against me, and who, according to his co-workers, unethically led witnesses in ways designed to implicate me. After being unable to convince even Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg that a fraud case was feasible, Pomerantz engaged in a media campaign to gin up support for this unwarranted prosecution. This big fucking whiny toddler orange mango head ass in the White House is bitching about things that happened in 2022. Imagine if the Biden administration treated Donald Trump the way that he is treating everyone else around him. He gets away with this language because he's been telling the American public for the past 4 years that the DOJ has been so weaponized against him. They've been going after him so unfairly and so unjustly. He gets away with it, and he's created this entire facade where now that he's acting in this way, it seems like he's getting vindication. It seems like he's righteous. It seems like this is exactly what was supposed to happen, except it's not. Except there's due process to be had in these situations, except you can't just make a law firm give you, what was the conclusion of this? $40 million. You can't force a law firm to give you $40 million worth of pro bono services after you go and create an entire executive order citing them by name. Do you know how scary that is? To have an entire executive order by the president of the fucking United States of America citing you by name. For what? For being a lawyer? For providing pro bono work against rioters, against insurrectionists on a day where there was a violent insurrection? Because what? Because they dug up your secret payments to a porn star while your wife was pregnant at home? Like, do you know how psycho of a president you would have to be to get in a position of power, to get in the position of a power, and just use it to go after people that have pissed you off personally? To go after entire firms. Like, it's not just affecting these specific lawyers that he cites by name. Everyone in the Paul Weiss firm is affected by this executive order. All of their security clearance is revoked. They don't have access to anything. And I'm not gonna try and sit here and defend like a multi-billion-dollar law firm. And I hate that the Trump administration keeps on putting the American people in this position where we're being forced to defend all of these unsympathetic causes, whether it's an anti-Semitic student on a college campus, a violent criminal that's getting deported, or a billionaire law firm that definitely is doing some type of shady thing with the amount of billable hours, probably, most definitely. Like, it doesn't matter that these aren't the picture-perfect, clean-cut, you know, sympathetic cookie cutter stories that we want to be. These are the cases where it actually matters to have a rule of law, to exercise due process, to lean on the guardrails of this democracy. It doesn't make sense to have rules only when things are good and when everything is clear cut and when everything is easy to understand and intuitive. These are the cases in which it matters. It's a long rant. It's not just Paul Weiss. We also got addressing risks from Perkins Coie. This is the law firm that was behind the false dossier, the Steele dossier, proving Donald Trump's collusion with Russia and Vladimir Putin in the 2016 election, with mis and disinformation campaigns against Hillary Clinton. That's a whole other situation, but of course, they also got attacked. They quickly filed a lawsuit in response to this illegal executive order, which the Trump administration is now trying to push off of the case as a result of bias. The bias in question is her just being a judge. And it just so happened that a couple of cases before her involved her ruling in favor of Democrats, her ruling against Trump involving his handling of classified documents with Russia, her ruling against Trump involving his handling of classified documents in America, and involving January 6th. That's what makes her so biased. So in case you're keeping score, which I am, Eileen Cannon, after using a bullshit precedent set by Clarence Thomas to throw out the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case because special counsel was apparently unconstitutional, right? Eileen Cannon is still allowed after that, with no special interests, with no conflict of interest. She's allowed to sit on a case between Donald Trump and his assassin. And that's not a conflict of interest. Her moving at lightning speed on that case, despite dragging her feet on the Mar-a-Lago's case, that wasn't a conflict of interest. But this is a conflict of interest.
I actually didn't quit. I gave like a conditional 2 weeks notice. I'll read you that email in a second, but they've already taken me off of our internal systems. It was about 3 hours ago that I sent the email and I just got taken off our systems like 10 minutes ago. So I guess I have quit. Until about 30 minutes ago, I was employed at Skadden Arps, which is one of the most profitable and prestigious law firms in the entire world. And if you follow me on here and you've seen me recently, you probably are familiar with things that I've been talking about in terms of the Trump administration's pressure on corporate law firms and attempted takeover and kind of rule of law and the increasing accelerated path towards authoritarianism that we're experiencing in the United States. This past Friday, the Trump administration put out another executive order targeting this firm called Paul Weiss, which is another huge corporate law firm. They were actually on the right side of representation during Brown versus Board of Education. and targeting Paul Weiss, trying to cancel contracts with them, get other people to cancel contracts with them, to drop representation, because Paul Weiss had a partner that, while he was not even working at the firm, had participated in the investigation and prosecution of Donald Trump for, I believe, his hush money crimes. He's done this to several firms over the last couple of weeks, and it's very much a test to see if the kind of corporate lawyers in this country will stand up to him, or if they will let him get away with punishing lawyers for representation. I need you to understand that this is so obvious that no one disputes it. No one disputes it. I would go to work and bring it up, and people would say, oh my God, right? And yet almost no one in the industry has been actually fighting the Trump administration on this. There was a letter that went out from the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, to 20 law firms, I think last week, that requested a significant amount of personal information for applicants to those law firms, and focused on applicants to diversity programs and something called the SEO Fellowship, which is historically open primarily to people from underrepresented backgrounds and minorities. That request for information included a request for phone number, for email, for full name. My firm was one of the 20 firms in that group. Even prior to that happening, it was extremely apparent to me and to everyone else that this was an attack on rule of law, that it was an attempt to intimidate lawyers out of challenging the Trump administration on things. And there were reports that the Trump administration had successfully deterred many large corporate law firms from taking on certain representations, particularly pro bono representations that challenged the administration, as it is engaging in blatantly illegal action, like deporting people over judges' orders. I've been pushing very hard, both internally and externally, for us to take some kind of stand to say that we will protect the personal information of our associates, that we will reject any type of doxing of associates, that we will commit to continued representation. And all of it has gone absolutely without impact, including internal emails that were very politely worded, asking people to talk about what we were going to do, including organizing an anonymized letter asking firms to take action from over now 600 associates at major corporate law firms, publishing a very polite op-ed, engaging in kind of really measured conversations with the press, all of which was against our policy. I recognize that, but all of which was very careful to kind of protect the firm and make it possible for them to do the right thing. I also want to make clear that this is not unique to Skadden. Just because Skadden is the firm that has an associate that has this type of platform, that has this type of racial and financial privilege to be able to do this, does not mean that it is unique to them. It is an industry-wide problem. And tonight, after this advocacy and this pushing and all of this stuff, leading to no actionable results from my employer or from any other firm other than Perkins Coie, which was also targeted by an executive order and is fighting it with the assistance of Williams and Connolly. Shout out to both of them. Not that any corporate law firm is like morally great, but like shout out to them. Their like authoritarianism is bad. Paul Weiss reached an agreement with the executive to have that executive order rescinded. And as part of that agreement, they condemned the actions of their former partner who had been involved in investigating Donald Trump for criminal activity. They committed to $40 million worth of pro bono legal services supporting Trump administration aims, including his task force to combat anti-Semitism, which is the same kind of thing that has gotten Mahmoud Khalil in indefinite ICE detention, that is causing people to be detained at the border, deported. That happens under all administrations. I am not saying that it doesn't happen just right now, but the escalation is terrifying based off of particularly protected speech. They also committed to participating in an investigation of their past hiring practices with an outside investigator to be mutually agreed between them and the Trump administration. I am not saying that things were acceptable, that things were morally good in this industry, in this country prior to today. But today is where my line was in terms of inaction. And so today I sent a firm-wide email putting in conditional notice asking that we address these things in a satisfactory way. Several hours later, I was removed from my firm email, which also I don't even know the implications of that because I have active representations, including some where I am the only attorney representing people in like pro bono matters.
That was a little long, okay, sorry. But this is Rachel Cohen. Okay, she had previously been responsible for this open letter. It's signed by over 600 lawyers. They're all anonymous, so it's signed by the law firms in which they work or the law school in which they graduated and the year, whatever. It's now at over 1,000. But these are all lawyers that are standing against the Trump administration, that have made a commitment to go against the blatant attack on the rule of law, on everything that makes this country stable and makes this society function. Everything, every standard, every norm, every rule and statute that this administration is throwing against the wall and burning fire and setting fire to, these lawyers are going against, and this letter is fighting against. As she just said in her video, not every law firm has an associate that is lucky enough to be in a position where they are able to leave their job to speak out against this, to risk their future, their retirement, their healthcare, their pension, their kids. If you have kids, that's an immediate, you can't do anything. If your health insurance is tied to your kids, there's no way that you would take the chance that your kids are gonna get sick and you're not gonna have health insurance for your child, versus what, like this abstract concept of a democracy that my own state lawmaker doesn't even seem to be caring about. Like, what, I'm gonna sacrifice my job, my security, my well-being? Like, I understand why we're not seeing as many lawyers going against this as maybe we should, as many people in big law positions as they should, okay? And I'm not talking about like the lowly workers that have families to feed, that have people relying on them, okay? I'm thinking of the executives. I'm thinking of the people in positions of power. I'm thinking of the stakeholders. I'm thinking of the board members. I'm thinking of the people that have money, have stability, and have power. And why would what's the point of having fuck you money if you can't say fuck you with it? Like, the same way that Mark Zuckerberg can sit there and complain about how the Biden administration, oh, but they were pressuring me to delete all of these things off of Facebook. Like, you're Facebook, you're a private company, do what you want to do. Why are you just rolling over and capitulating to whatever the biggest guy in the room tells you to do, whatever the strongest voice, whatever the loudest voice is saying? Like, it's disappointing, it's disheartening. And there are people fighting against it, and there are people speaking out, and there are lawsuits being had. The only issue is that the courts cannot do everything. We can't be relying on the courts, which are supposed to be the very last resort. We can't be relying on that to dictate the country. It goes too slow. There's too much paperwork involved. It's too sluggy long. There's a reason why we have an executive to kind of hurry things up. Because these large legislative bodies, these large legal proceedings, they all take time, they take paperwork, they take effort. But that is the only way to make sure that things get done correctly. But that is all we have, okay? And Republicans, as much as they want to make it seem like it's so boring, like it's so, oh, Democrats can't do anything, it takes too long for them to do anything. Yes, maybe. But also, you can't just go back to back to back to back to back to back. A lot of America thinks that what's happening right now with all of the different executive actions being done tenfold by the day, a lot of Americans think that this is now normal, that this is the pace at which government is supposed to be run. You're not supposed to be able to entirely destroy an economy in the course of two months, okay? It's really honestly impressive that Donald Trump has managed to do that much. Between Paul Weiss just completely giving up, Disney just completely giving up, Congress just completely giving up, it's up to us. It's up to us. It's up to the people. It's always been up to the people. It's always been up to us. If you want anything done right, you got to do it yourself. And so with everyone failing, we have to step up to the plate.